Join us.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add 3 more figures to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now these will be live action figures from the upcoming Black Adam movie, scheduled to release this month. Now I have already taken a look at Atom Smasher, Hawkman, and Dr. Fate. You could check those reviews out. But this time we will take a look at all 3 versions of Black Adam, of course played by The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Now I'm not super excited to check out the movie, but I am interested to see how it will do. And eventually I will end up taking a look at it for myself and deciding just how good it is. But right now we're taking a look at these awesome figures. And also I have a little topic to talk about after I take a look at these now. Each of these does come in his own different box. You have the standard release Black Adam version. You have the cloaked version. And you have the version that comes with a throne. They do have different art on the back of the packaging, and they all look pretty sus in the packaging. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at them. But first, each one does come with a standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. Each one also does come with a Datafall card. You have the standard version with The Rock on the front, a live action shot. You have the cloaked version where it is more comic styled art based on the live action shots. Pretty cool. And then you do have the throne version that has a more action posed comic art version. And on the back you do have some information. Pretty awesome. We will add these to the collection. Now I'm still kind of iffy on the movie. I mean, I am excited to see another DC character come to the big screen. It's just that I've been hearing different, takes on if it's going to be good or not. And I always say, watch the movie yourself and you decide if it's good to you or not. So that's what I'm going to wait for before I say anything else on it. Now the standard version does come with some lightning effects in a clear, transparent yellow color. Now in the trailers they do show him using a little bit more blue effects, but it is what it is. I mean, you can always mix and match effects with these figures. And then of course the throne version does come with this pretty cool throne. Now it is kind of light, but I mean, what more do you want? You're not going to be sitting in this yourself. This is just for display with your figure. So I like it. It has kind of a green patina look to it. Maybe add a little bit more gold later on. Pretty sweet. Now, these figures are basically the same. There is slight paint differences in each one, but we'll go ahead and use the standard version for the articulation, and the others we'll just take a closer look at. But they're basically the same articulation as this one, the standard release. Now, first impressions, this is an awesome movie figure. Now, the detail in this is just taken to a whole nother level. I mean, sculpt work is out of this world. You get tons of texture and sculpt work. I mean, these just look awesome. Even the aesthetics of the Black Adam figure just look awesome, like his proportions are just really well done. And as I said before, the sculpture is out of this world. It's a really awesome looking figure in hand. I mean, I could even compare these to some higher end figures, and this one might not win, but he will put up a pretty good fight, especially for the price point. Now let's take a look at the head sculpt. Pretty much capturing the essence of Dwayne Johnson very well. Now, we did hear from McFarlane, and he did say that this is one of the times when the actor actually had to sign off on the figure. So that's pretty interesting and kind of a inside look of the workings of the process of making these figures. So The Rock actually saw this in prototype form and actually had to give the okay to start the process of producing the figures, which is probably why it does a really good job of resembling him, and even the muscle aesthetics are really there. Just an awesome, awesome looking figure. Now let's take a look at the articulation. He does look down very well. He does look up surprisingly well. I mean, this one looks almost completely straight up, which is going to be good to put him in some cool flight poses. You do got right to left, and you can tilt his head for some attitude. Pretty sweet. Now let's take a look at the chest emblem, the Thunderbolt. Now, of course, capturing the movie images to this, action figure is not going to be exact, but I do like the tone that it has with an outer darker yellow and then a more brighter yellow in the center. It gives it like a glowing kind of effect. So all in all, the chest emblem is embossed and it looks really, really clean. The paint apps are spot on. Pretty cool. Let's take a look at the waist articulation. You do have side to side. Nice range there. You have full swivel at the waist. A lot of good range. You have a lower waist swivel, an upper chest swivel, which means you can twist him, get him in some cool poses. Now he does have a slight crunch. Not too much, but it is there. And then you can lean him back to get him in some awesome poses. Now this will work for figure photography where you could get them flying kind of like in the trailer. 10 out of 10 with that part of the articulation. Now let's take a look at the shoulders. He does have that butterfly shoulder joint with the bushing. You do get up and down, front to back, a lot of range. Has a bicep swivel. Double jointed elbows that are actually perfect double jointed elbows. It looks really clean. Going from the shoulders down into the forearm straps. Beautiful, beautiful sculpt work. I mean, just the intricate detail. You just gotta give them their props and admire it. This is an awesome, awesome sculpted figure. You can differentiate all of the straps. It just looks awesome. Now he does have these kind of open hand guards that are done really, really well. Now there is one difference between this and basically 99% of the McFarlane figures, and that is that this guy only has the basic swivel joint on the wrist. So you can only get one range of motion and then the swivel, but it does take away from the articulation. It does look cleaner in a sense. But if you want that added articulation where it actually hinges and then pivots and then hinges again, where you get that four-way directional movement, then you do need that ball joint. And sadly, this guy doesn't have it. But there is one point to make, and that is that those wrist ball joints are really perfect for figures with weapons, swords, guns, baseball bats. And since he doesn't really use weapons, those added points of articulation are not really missing. And it actually looks really clean. And the transition from the forearm into the hand actually looks really smooth. So far from deterring from the figure, it's actually pretty nice. On the other side, you do have the same sculpt work and detail. Beautiful, beautiful figure. Now he can get a T-pose with those butterflies, and you can even actually get him to go a little bit higher, almost into a Y pose. And then you can shift his arms forward and raise them above his head. Pretty cool. Moving down to the waist, you have some more beautiful sculpt work, which is now in the belts that are around his waist. All of the buckles and straps are detailed. You even have like a little ring hinge here. I just can't get over how much detail they put into this figure. It's really, really good work from McFarlane. Now let's take a look at the thigh swivel. Awesome thigh swivel. You get a lot of range there. He can kick up a little bit more than 90 degrees, but he could kick back just as well. Now this is allowed from the rubber in the trunks, and when you put it back, they go back to their original form. Cock his leg out. He does have that sweet hip swivel. Double jointed knees, look good. Straighten them out. Kind of tight going up because of the shin guard, but you do get down in a good range. Right to left, rocker, and toe articulation. Before we go, just admire the beautiful sculpt work that they've done on this figure. You can see all of the connecting patterns on the legs, and then all of the beautiful sculpt work on the shin guards. Oh man, this figure is really cool. I do gotta say that. Take a look at him from the bottom. No tread, but some identifying marks. Moving up, more awesome sculpt work. Love the straps holding in the shin guards. Going up to the back. Detailed belt work, and then into the back. Now, one thing I do want to show off here is, aside from having the cutouts for the butterflies, where you could really get that full range, the detailed work in the costume, man, you could just see all the glyphs, all the patterns in there. A lot of range in the butterfly, and I just love the way it smoothly, when you work with the articulation, it is just awesome. Pretty awesome traps on the back of the figure there, and then you have the back of his head. Pretty nicely detailed. Now, of course, this is only one figure. You do have the figure that goes with the throne. Now, the only difference is the gold work on the paint here is a little bit shinier. Not too much, but I think eventually I will be hitting this with a real high, like chrome gold, just to differentiate him from the original release. And of course, this will be the one that sits on the throne. So it is pretty much the same articulation and the same figure. And then you have the one I was most anticipating was the one with the cloak. You know, there are slight differences. The painting on the belt and the boots is minimal. It looks like of a dirty gunmetal than these figures, so there's not really too much gold on it, but I actually like it because it separates it from these. Now you do have the cloak on this one, so the head articulation is different. It is the kind with the neck peg, but surprisingly it does move underneath the hood to give you some cool posing possibilities. Cloak is really well done. I love the detail on the cape. Has slight highlights of gold paint. But this is really the one that I was looking forward to the most. I love the way he looks. Kind of mysterious, kind of deadly looking character. Awesome, awesome work by McFarlane. Now, of course, you can bring in the effects. Of course, these would go on the standard version. Just to give them a little bit of added effect if you want to take some photos or anything like that. Then, of course, you do have the throne, which, of course, this guy can sit on. Looks really good actually sitting on that throne. Now that we're here to this point, I do want to talk about something, and that is that I'm a big fan of the way McFarlane doesn't give us extra heads. Now I know, oh God, that's a a big shocker to everybody, because I know basically 80%, 90% of the fans always say, give us extra heads, give us alternate head scopes. But I do have reasons behind my madness. And basically the thing is that I'm a collector that likes to display all of the versions on my shelves. And I've been doing this a long time. I done it with DC Universe Classics. I done it with Mattel. Of course, you had the Batman Beyond that came with different head scopes. The Red Hood that came with different head scopes. And then, of course, Dick Grayson also came with different head scopes. And I had to buy 2 of all these figures so that I could display all the versions. And that's just a rule that I've always had, you know, when I display my figures. Now, McFarlane luckily has only done this once, and that was actually in the White Knight Jack Napier version. Now, he did give us 1 body and 2 heads. One was to represent the normal Jack Napier version, and one was to represent the Jokerized version. So, of course, I ended up having to buy doubles of these figures so that I could have the 2 different versions. I did make a custom Joker one where his skin tone is white, and then I have the regular Jack Napier version. But that is how I like to display them on my shelf, showing both heads. And eventually I even made a custom using the extra head of the Joker that I had left over, and I put it in the lantern from my custom Last Night on Earth Straight Jacket Batman, just to give the head a little bit more of a comic feel. Now, all that said, I hope you understand the way, if these figures came with extra heads, it would just, you know, change the way I collected completely, because as I said, I do want to display all versions. But if you don't understand what I'm trying to say, let me break it down in dinero, and that is going to be that these figures are $20 each. I bought all 3 of them, which came out to around $60. Now, these do have different hands. The cloak version has open hands. The throne version has 1 of each, and the standard has fists. So in all reality, if I want, I could interchange them and swap them around so I don't lose anything. I actually have the different forms of hands. And then this one does come with effects, so I could use these on the cloak version or on the throne. It does not matter. I have all the accessories here. But let's just say McFarlane were to make more deluxe versions of these figures, which would mean that you would get 1 figure with alternate hands, the effects, and also the throne, and also the cloak and the hood. And then I actually repainted this version's eyes to give them more of like an energized, whited out version of the eyes. It looks actually pretty good. So this is the one that's going to be sitting on the throne. But if you were to pop off this head, you can actually add it to the little assortment of accessories that would be in a deluxe pack. But the downside of that is that you would only have 1 body. So for $40, you would have all the parts you needed, but you would only be able to display 1 version at once, and that's just something I would not be able to stand. I would have to buy another 2 to display the cloaked version, the version sitting on the throne, and the regular standard version. Now, this would mean that I would have 2 extra thrones, 4 extra energy effects, 4 extra hands, and 2 extra cloaks. And I mean, this does not sound too bad when you think about it, because you have tons of extra parts. But the actual price to have all of this and for me to be able to display all 3 versions would actually bring the price up to more like $120. Not to mention the fact that I would still want one to remain closed for my in-box complete DC Multiverse collection. So now I'm looking at more like $160. Now I could end up buying one and then waiting until these go on sale, but if they never go on sale, it's going to be a big hassle. So I mean, I know everybody has their preference, and I know everybody thinks it's like a good way to go, but just for me, I'm able to display all three versions of this character, plus have the effects, plus have the extra hands, and all it would cost me is $60. But if you want to do it the other way with deluxe figures that cost more like $40, then you're really looking at tripling the price it would cost me to display all these versions of the figures. So that's just something to think about whenever people cry about alternate heads or more accessories. Although it does have its positives, there is also a negative to it, and that is that you are unable to display all the versions at once on your shelf. But me, I'm going to be displaying the cloaked version, the regular version, and of course the version on the throne, which is going to look pretty awesome. But that's just my 2 cents. You guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.